So, next video. I have no idea which number this is. I'll put it on the bottom of the video. But we've taken another step. Over the last week, we got the screen delivered. But my friend who I trust to help me put it up was away on holiday. So it took about 4 days of sending him lots of messages asking him what I should do with the wall. Because I have this problem where you can see the line on the wall, and this is one of the reasons I didn't decorate, because I wanted all the way around the room to still be able to see all the studs. There's one stud, let's see if I move my finger, sorry. There's one stud that is generally centre, and then the next stud is off to the side, and then the other stud is almost above the... So instead of having two central studs, if I'd been really smart and designed it that way, I only had one. So to put the bracket up on the wall to mount the screen, what I had to do is I actually put two brackets that are just smaller than the screen that are 100mm each, 25 deep, 25mm deep, above and below where the cable comes out behind the screen. And that links all the brackets together. I used 4 huge bolts to go through the brackets. Actually 4 the bolts that they gave, and about 8 other bolts per bracket, so it's totally fixed. And then there's like a French cleat style TV bracket connection, which that's another term I learned this week, because I always tell me you should use a French cleat, and when I got the stand it works. So now the next thing, what you should have seen at the beginning of this video, as long as they don't strike me off because I don't think it was long enough, is the laptop now has HDMI out that goes down and round down the room, which plugs in channel 2, but then channel 1 on this TV is arc return. So the arc return then comes back down and plugs into the back of my topping DAC. And it's the main reason I bought this model, because it's a high-res SQA model, or MQA, sorry, SQA is something completely different. MQA model, but it has the equivalent of HDMI in the back. It's called 2R, whatever it is, or R2 something, but it takes HDMI, which means when I play a video from here, if I do a live stream video or something that you can't get on the content on the TV, like if it's not through a normal app, basically you can go on, play a live stream, pre-recorded videos, whatever you want, and the video will show on the screen, but then the audio then comes through the system. So it means if there's a movie that we've got a copy of that isn't shown on there, or Animal Watch, or sports stuff that we can't quite get there, but we can get on the laptop, we can play it through the laptop and it all still works through the system. Yeah, so it's really good. Size-wise, I think cinema-wise, cinema guys would say that it's a good size, but cinema guys, some of the stuff I was reading online and people were talking about, they were like, always go extreme. So I think cinema guys would probably say it maybe should have been a size bigger. But what I want to use it for, and I think my purpose, I think the size and the quality is a much better thing. So I went with a QD mini LED TCL screen, and it's an 85-inch. So I went for I didn't even go for the base model. I went for 1 or 2 up from that, so that it's good quality. So yeah, it's definitely going to do. And one of the other cool things is, because I've used blackout blinds to semi-affect the audio in here as well, then when you press the lights off and you go to the back, it then becomes like being in a cinema. Yeah, and it's pretty intense. I played a whole bunch of tester videos earlier, Top Gun, the new Top Gun movie and all these other things, and played it, and it's amazing. It's a pretty wild experience, especially through the system and with a sub and everything like that. The one thing you'll notice when I do this is that the roof's still really reflective, because obviously you don't want a white surface with the screen, because this TCL TV is bright. So that's going to be my future project, is to still decorate the room. I think I'm going to do the walls in dark green. I'm just going to turn the light back on while I talk. I'm going to do the walls in dark green. I've seen 3 or 4 studios, like proper studios, where they don't have stuff on the walls and they're dark green with a white skirting and then a white roof, and it looks amazing. My problem is I'm trying to decide what to do with the roof. I still would quite like a white roof, but I'm thinking what I might do is I might have a line on the roof that it goes to that's dark at the front so it doesn't reflect. But I think if you were to look from the back, you would still see the light. So I don't know. We've got to work out what we're going to do with the roof. But it's pretty good. It's just working that out and trying to get it all to play ball. Other things, I had a little place, so I had to take the whole room apart, obviously, to put the screen on the wall. And so I took this unit out, and I've been watching lots of videos to do with if you put anything in between your speakers, how it affects the stereo image and how it affects like a whole bunch of different stuff. And I've been thinking, because I have quite a long space in between these front two seats and the front, I thought, could I put it in this space? Could I put it to the side? But realistically, because I have the rack there, and the rack's not going to move anytime soon, it's not going to go more towards the speakers because it would block the speakers. It can't go behind the speaker. I suppose in theory I could do that, but then how do I get access to the laptop? I would have to work out it would be weird. And that means there's not enough space width-wise to move around, because as soon as you put something on the right. So I'm still working on that in my head. At the moment it's fine, it sounds okay. It's not a huge difference, but when I'll explain my next stage is I need to move the runners for the curtain, because one side of the curtain comes in front, but on the left it's really tight and it doesn't really come in front. So I'm going to just move the curtain rail like another few centimetres forward, which means I can close the curtains when I want to and just block off the screen. So when I'm going in full audio mode and I want to block out the screen, and my friend Neil gives me a hard time about how's that big reflective surface going to affect the audio, it definitely is. So I can close it, but then I can open it again when I need to or want to go in movie mode or whatever. Yeah. And then I'm trying to think what the other things were. I need to do that. I need to wiring. Need to put all the cables through the skirting board probably as well, which is a big step. At the moment, I've got a few other things going on. There's one, the internet cable goes all the way down the room, and I've got a router, and then speaker cable, all these bits and bobs, and a lot of the stuff goes down this side. Speaker cable comes in and speaker cable goes round. So yeah, I've just got a few like final things to do, and then I'm pretty close. I do have one thing that's coming this week. It's my last piece of kit. So you probably, if you watch some of my earlier videos, my amp, my power conditioner, and a few other bits and bobs, I also have a set of Dali speakers that are still in the room. They were here for testing a bunch of stuff before I brought in my good ones. That was my original system. And then I bought my DAC, because I had a cheaper Cambridge audio DAC, which I still have as well. And I've upgraded the cables and the speakers and the sub and things. But the one thing I feel like is my amp is only an M2, so it's not very powerful. And a lot of the musical fidelity guys talk about once you go up the power range and once it has more power and more, like in PA systems, they call it cone control. So yeah, basically you have a more powerful amp, you have better cone control. So I did a whole bunch of research for about 2 weeks. I looked and looked. I looked at a few name amps. I looked at an SML PAX, which is one of the new Class D ones, because everyone's ranting about Class D. But in that process, I found a whole bunch of guys talking about Chinese clone amps of basically amps that were really big in the 90s and early 2000s that have ran out of their copyright infringement stuff and all that. And so what I've done is I've bought the newest version of one of those clones, the one that gets the best reputation and that's been around for the longest. I bought it off of a company that gets a really good rep. So that comes, I think, ending this week or maybe the start of next week, and that's going to be the last piece of kit. And I'm just going to sit it down on the floor because it is a big boy. It's a huge Class AB amp, and it's going to finish off the system. So yeah, and then I'm going to have a hide in the garage and not spend any money phase trying to get everything right. Oh, my last pointer when people are doing rooms is when you're doing your rooms, don't rely on how it sounds until you empty all the crap out the room. So a couple of people have spoken to me about how I sound when you speak on the videos, but for ages I had lots of rubbish in this back row, like stuff sitting here, both the seats piled up. I had rubbish down the front, and then I was sitting in the listening position and listening and going, oh yeah, this is great, blah, blah, blah. One of the biggest differences was actually just clearing all the crap out the room. Loads of cardboard, loads of packaging, a few things that were bits of kit that I'd brought in and then used, and then now I've got newer kit, so I moved it out, things like that. But the room, the sound is just so much bigger, and the room sounds bigger. It's not as, when I put the curtains in and still had rubbish in the room sounded very like enclosed. And obviously it's a stupid volume thing, but basically removing all the crap from your room will make a huge difference. And it's a really good lesson for audio guys and computer geeks and all these kind of people who have rooms just filled with stuff. Actually, if you get rid of all the stuff, it'll make a big difference. And that's one of the reasons why moving my unit, I've got to work out if I'm going to move my unit or not, because I think audio wise it'll make a big difference. But I cleared out all my stuff and it made a huge difference. So that's my top tip of the day, or learning point, is empty your room. Don't let it be filled with rubbish. People will enjoy it more as well. So okay, so that's us. We were on stage about, who knows, 15, 16, 17. I still feel like this is my space. It's not the cinema room that my son thinks it is, because of all the setup. I can do a bunch of different stuff. It's not just for showing films. It's more audio focused than video focused. But I'm getting pretty far on, and I'm not far off being finished. Somehow all the tech worked when I plugged it in for the last time, which is amazing. If you've got any questions, please give me a comment. If you've got any suggestions even as well, because actually what I've found is when I speak to people and they tell me things, I'm like, that's a good point, that's a good point, that's a good point. Probably my next video will be me starting to talk about what I'm going to do with the room and maybe try and affect the sound. Things like bass corner traps and some foam here and there that's going to be hidden. But I'm going to do that once I kind of mic the room and use a laptop and some software to work out what's going on and not going on. But yeah, at a good stage. Hope you enjoyed it. As always, I talked way too much. Somehow it got out to almost 14 minutes. But yeah, we're here. Listening room, studio, whatever you want to call it. Things are going well. Okay, thanks. Bye.